and welcome back to Monday with Business Immigration at IMD Corporate, a podcast in which we discuss key topics and updates in the UK business immigration law. My name is Alicja Bielawska, a trainee solicitor specializing in corporate, commercial, employment, and immigration, and I'm joined by my co host Jarmila Entezari, a senior associate with over 18 years of experience in business immigration matters. Today, we'll explore the UK global business mobility routes.
Hi, everyone. Global business mobility routes are there for companies and individuals as well, looking to expand their business and move their employees to the UK. Some routes under the umbrella of global business mobility are beneficial for multinational companies aiming to transfer staff between international branches. These routes were created by the UK government to accommodate various business needs, ensuring that the UK remains a competitive destination for global talent and investment.
Yeah, and the key information is that global business mobility routes are designed for employees of overseas companies to undertake specific types of work in the UK. So, there must be a company outside of the UK that will send, under the sponsorship, its employees here. And that is the main difference when comparing it to a skilled worker visa. To sponsor a skilled worker, the company must be established and trading in the UK. You don't need an overseas company to be involved in the process. There are five specific routes or visas under global business mobility. The first one is senior or specialist worker visa, similar to former tier 2 intra-company transfer category. There is also a graduate trainee visa, UK expansion worker visa, which evolved from the former sole representative of an overseas business category, service supplier visa, and secondment worker visa. It's important to note that these categories are existing today when we release this podcast in April 2025, but they change quite often. So if you are interested in any of those routes, it's important to check the recent developments. Yarmila, can we now briefly go through each of the routes, please?
Sure. So let's start with the senior or specialist worker route. This route is for senior managers or specialist employees assigned by their employer outside the UK to a linked UK business. As you said earlier, Alicia, it kind of replaces the previous intra-company transfer route.
And you need a sponsor in the UK, just like with the skilled worker visa. The UK business must hold a valid sponsor license issued by the Home Office. The transferred employee does not need to meet the English language certificate, but their job still needs to be on a Home Office list of eligible occupations in the UK.
That's correct. The employee must be employed by a business linked to the UK entity and have at least 12 months of prior employment with the overseas entity, unless the employee is earning £73,900 or more per annum, and the proposed salary meets at least the minimum salary threshold in the UK. So the graduate trainee route is designed for employees on a graduate training program leading to a senior management or specialist position, requiring a UK work placement. To qualify for a graduate training visa, you must be an existing employee of an organisation that's been approved by the Home Office as a sponsor, have worked for your sponsor outside the UK for at least 3 months immediately before you apply, have a certificate of sponsorship from your employer with information about the work you will do in the UK, do a job that's on the list of eligible occupations and be paid at least £25,410 per year. But this is a current salary requirement, so please check the figures at the time of the application as they may change.
Now, let's move to the UK expansion worker visa. This may be a viable option for senior managers or specialist employees of an overseas business being assigned to the UK to establish a branch or subsidiary. The employee will apply for visa under a sponsorship, and it's essential that whilst the Home Office requires for the branch or subsidiary to be registered, it must not have started trading in the UK at the time of the application. This will be the task of the sponsored employee. There is a minimum salary threshold for the sponsored employee, which is currently £48,500. There is no English language requirement. The employees must be employed by the business outside the UK that is linked to the proposed UK business for at least 12 months, unless they earn at least £73,900 a year, or the applicant is a Japanese national doing work for a Japanese company that is expanding to the UK, or they are a national or permanent resident of Australia doing work for an Australian company that is expanding to the UK. Again, these exemptions change from time to time, so you need to check your eligibility at the time of making the application. The UK entity must hold a valid sponsor license to assign a certificate of sponsorship to the applicant. The next category is service supplier.
Yeah, the service supplier route is for a contractual service suppliers employed by an overseas business or self-employed professional based overseas, assigned to the UK to provide services covered by one of the UK's international trade agreements. Therefore, the service to be provided in the UK must be under a contract covered by a valid international trade agreement, and the UK business receiving the service must be approved as a sponsor by the Home Office. The applicants must have worked for their employer outside the UK for at least 12 months or have at least 12 months of professional experience if they are self-employed.
Yeah, and last but not least, the secondment worker visa, a route for employees of an overseas business seconded to the UK as a part of high-value contract or investment. To be eligible for a secondment worker visa, you must be an existing employee of an overseas organization that has a high value contract with your UK sponsor that has been approved by the Home Office. You have worked for your overseas employer for at least 12 months outside the UK. You have a certificate of sponsorship from your sponsor with information about the work you will do in the UK, and you have a job in the UK that's on the list of eligible occupations. Now that we've gone through each of the five routes under the Global Business Mobility Scheme, Jarmila, let's take a moment to highlight what those routes all have in common. What should our listeners know?
Well, that's a great idea. So one thing to note is that all these routes require sponsorship. That means that the UK-based business or entity must have a valid sponsor license approved by the Home Office and issue a certificate of sponsorship for the applicant. Without this, no application can move forward.
Another key point is that all five routes are temporary. They are designed to facilitate business mobility and not to lead directly to settlement in the UK. So while these visas allow individuals to work in the UK, they are not a direct path to indefinite leave to remain.
Yes, but the listeners should know that all the workers arriving in the UK under global mobility route will be able to switch to a different category, which would take them all the way to settlement. So what about skill and salary levels? Are those consistent across the routes too?
Yes, skill and salary thresholds are central to all the routes. Each route has specific minimum requirements to ensure the jobs are high skilled and high value. However, there are exceptions for shortage occupations or individuals earning very high salaries, depending on the route.
Now, do you know, can applicants bring their family members along?
In short, yes, they can. Eligible dependents such as spouse, partner, or children can join the main applicant in the UK, provided they meet financial and other requirements.
Fantastic. So to sum up, all these routes share sponsorship, temporary status, skill and salary thresholds, and focus on meeting specific business needs. They are clearly designed to balance business flexibility with UK immigration controls.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful to see the bigger picture when exploring those routes. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our podcast today, and we'll be back in May.